Mom stood at Grandma's funeral reception with her arm around my younger sister Jess, introducing her to distant relatives like she was showing off a trophy. "This is Jessica, my daughter who just made partner at her firm. We're so proud." I was standing 3 feet away holding a casserole I'd made that morning, completely invisible. Aunt Linda smiled politely, then her eyes landed on me. "And who's this?" Mom glanced over, paused. "Oh, that's just Hannah. She helps out sometimes." That's the moment I realized I'd been erased from my own family. My name is Hannah. I'm 27 years old, and for most of my life, I was the middle child nobody noticed. I wasn't the star. That was Jess, 25, with her law degree and her Instagram feed full of motivational quotes and courtroom wins. She was always in the family photos, always the one Mom bragged about at parties. I wasn't the ambitious dreamer either. That was Tyler, 30, who'd tried launching 3 different startups, all funded by our parents, all spectacular failures. But he had vision, so that was fine. Me? I was the quiet one, the one who never caused trouble, the one who showed up. I'd been working at the family's event planning business since I was 19. 8 years of doing operations, client relations, logistics, all the boring stuff that actually kept the lights on. Mom owned the company. She'd named it Parker Events after our last name, like it was some kind of legacy, but I was the one who built the client database. I was the one who turned one-time bookings into repeat contracts. I was the one who stayed late when a vendor flaked or a venue double-booked. I got a thanks maybe twice a year. I didn't have a law degree. I didn't post on LinkedIn. I didn't pitch wild business ideas over Sunday brunch. I just worked. And somehow, that made me invisible. If you've ever been pushed aside by family, subscribe right now and tell me where you're watching from. Because what happened next showed me exactly how little I mattered to them and how much I'd been worth all along. 2 weeks after Grandma's funeral, we all gathered at a lawyer's office for the will reading. Grandma wasn't rich, but she'd been careful her whole life. She owned her house outright, a small 2-bedroom in a decent neighborhood, and she had savings. About $150,000 total. I didn't expect much. Honestly, I wasn't even thinking about money. I was still trying to process the funeral, the grief, the weird hollow feeling of losing the one person in the family who actually listened when I talked. We sat in this cramped conference room that smelled like old coffee and printed paper. Mom, Jess, Tyler, and me. The lawyer, a tired-looking man in his 50s, opened a folder and started reading. "To my granddaughter Jessica Parker, I leave $60,000 for her brilliance and her future." Jess smiled, dabbing at her eyes like she was emotional. She wasn't. I'd seen her checking her phone during the service. "To my grandson Tyler Parker, I leave $60,000 to finally make his dreams come true." Tyler nodded slowly, like he'd expected it, like he deserved it. "To my daughter, Margaret Parker, I leave my home and all its contents." Mom pressed a hand to her chest. "Oh, that's so generous." The lawyer paused, looked down at the paper, then kept reading. That was it. Silence filled the room. I waited. Surely there was something else. A small amount. A keepsake? A sentence? Nothing. Jess laughed nervously. "Wait, that's it?" The lawyer looked uncomfortable. "There is a note here regarding Hannah." Everyone turned to look at me. He cleared his throat. "It says, Hannah contributes in other ways." My throat tightened. I felt my face get hot. Mom shrugged. "Well, Hannah's always been fine on her own. She doesn't need much." Tyler smirked. Actually smirked. Guess Grandma knew who really mattered. I didn't argue, didn't cry. I just nodded. And when the meeting ended, I walked out alone. No one followed. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, staring at the steering wheel, trying to figure out what I'd done wrong. I'd visited Grandma every week, brought her groceries, fixed her computer, sat with her and listened to the same stories about her childhood that she told over and over, but I guess that didn't count. I drove home. Didn't answer my phone. Didn't check the family group chat. I thought that was the worst of it. I was wrong. That weekend, I was scrolling through Instagram and saw a post from Jess. It was a photo of her, Tyler, and Mom at some upscale restaurant with soft lighting and wine glasses everywhere. Everyone was dressed up, smiling. The caption read, "Celebrating Grandma's legacy with the people she loved most." I stared at my phone. I hadn't been invited. I texted Mom. "Didn't know there was a dinner." 3 dots appeared. Then, "It was last minute. You're always so busy anyway." I set my phone down. Took a breath. Always so busy. Right. Busy doing their work. Busy keeping their business running. Busy being invisible. But that still wasn't the breaking point. A week later, Mom scheduled a meeting at the office. She'd been trying to bring in an investor, some guy who wanted to expand into corporate events. I showed up early, like always, set up the conference room, printed the portfolio, made sure everything looked professional. The investor arrived. Mid-40s, suit and tie, polite smile. Mom shook his hand, then gestured around the room. "This is Tyler, our visionary. He's going to take this company to the next level." Tyler nodded like he'd done anything in the last 6 months besides pitch a rebrand nobody asked for. "And this is Jessica, our legal consultant. She keeps us protected." Jess wasn't even on payroll. She'd reviewed 1 contract. Once. The investor looked at me. "And you are?" Mom barely glanced over. "Oh, that's Hannah. She's more of an assistant. Keeps the lights on, you know." I was sitting right there at the table. Right there. I'm the one who built the client database from scratch. I'm the one who secured the Whitmore Group contract that kept us afloat last year. I'm the one who turned one-time clients into long-term retainers. But, sure, assistant. The investor nodded politely and didn't look at me again for the rest of the meeting. I smiled, took notes, acted like it didn't gut me. When the meeting ended, I went back to my desk and stared at my computer screen for 30 minutes. That's when the text came in. It was from Jess. "Hey, can I borrow $3,000? Redoing my living room and I'm a little short this month." I read it twice. Then I typed back, "I didn't get anything from Grandma, remember?" 3 dots. Then, "Yeah, but you've been working forever. You must have savings." My jaw clenched. I typed, "I do, but it's mine." No response. 10 minutes later, I got a notification from the family group chat. Jess had screenshotted our conversation and posted it with the caption, "Wow, so selfish." Mom jumped in immediately. "Hannah, family helps family." Tyler added a shrugging emoji. I stared at my phone. At these people I'd spent my whole life trying to please. And I muted the chat. Then I opened a folder on my laptop. One I'd been quietly building for months. Emails I'd sent that got ignored. Client wins I'd delivered without credit. A running log of hours I'd worked unpaid, off the clock, on weekends. I didn't know what I was going to do with it yet, but I knew I was done being invisible. What they didn't know was this. I'd been building something on the side. 8 months earlier, a former client from the family business had reached out to me. Her name was Diane Carlson, a corporate executive for a mid-sized tech firm. We'd planned their annual gala. It was a massive event. 400 guests. Live. Entertainment. Keynote speakers. Mom had taken all the credit, of course, but Diane knew the truth. She pulled me aside at the end of the night and handed me her card. "You're the only reason this went well. If you ever go solo, call me. I'd tucked the card into my wallet and almost forgot about it. But a few months later, after another weekend of doing unpaid work while Tyler got praised for showing up late, I called her. We met for coffee. She had a smaller event coming up, a product launch, nothing huge. Can you handle it solo? She asked. I said yes. I did it on evenings and weekends, pulled it off flawlessly. She referred me to someone else, then someone else. Small gigs, then bigger ones. No drama, no ego, just results. Within 6 months, I had 5 corporate clients on retainer. Quiet, professional, profitable. I'd saved $42,000. Not inheritance money, not a loan. Mine. The family thought I was barely scraping by, that I was living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to keep up. But I'd been planning my exit for months, and after that group chat message, after being called selfish for refusing to hand over money I'd earned, I knew it was time. I met Diane for coffee on a Saturday morning. She slid a folder across the table. I have a proposal for you. I opened it. Inside was a business plan, clean, professional, detailed. I want to launch a boutique event consultancy, she said. High-end corporate clients, exclusive contracts. I have the connections. You have the operations genius. She leaned forward. We split it 50-50, equal partners. I'm thinking we launch in 3 months. I looked at the numbers, the projections, the client list she'd already started building. It was real. I'm in, I said. She smiled. Good. Let's call it Hamilton and Crane Events. Hamilton was her last name. Crane was my middle name. I didn't tell my family, didn't say a word. I just kept showing up, kept doing my job, kept smiling while they treated me like I didn't matter. Meanwhile, the family business was falling apart. Mom had been losing clients. 3 major contracts didn't renew. She didn't understand why. I did. I was the one who maintained those relationships. I was the one who followed up after events, sent thank you notes, checked in during the off-season. Without me actually caring, those clients drifted. Tyler's big rebrand idea, changing the logo and redoing the website, flopped. Turned out a new font doesn't fix bad service. Jess was too busy with her law career to help. Mom started texting me more. Can you handle the Whitmore event? No one else has time. I did it. Flawlessly. Like always. No thank you. No acknowledgement. Just, great. Can you also follow up with the Peterson wedding? One night, I was working late at the office. Everyone else had gone home. I heard Mom's voice from her office. She was on the phone. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but I heard my name. Hannah's fine doing the grunt work, Mom said. She doesn't have ambition like Jess, you know. Some people are just built different. I stood there in the hallway, holding a stack of printed contracts, and something inside me snapped. Not rage, not sadness, clarity. I walked back to my desk, pulled out my phone, and I texted Diane. Let's move the launch up. I'm ready now. She replied in 10 seconds. Let's do it. 1 month later, Mom called a family business meeting. She was panicking. I could see it in the way she paced around the conference room, checking her phone every 30 seconds. 3 major clients just dropped us, she said, looking at Tyler and Jess. I don't understand what happened. She didn't know they'd left because I was their actual point of contact, and I'd gone quiet. We need everyone to step up, Mom continued. She looked at me. Hannah, you'll need to take on more. Maybe start reaching out to old clients, see if... Actually, I said, I'm stepping back. The room went silent. Mom blinked. What? I'm leaving, I said. I've started my own company. Jess laughed. Actually laughed. Doing what? You don't have clients. I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder, slid it across the table. Mom opened it. Inside was a list of names. The Whitmore Group, Sanderson Limited, Evolve Corp. All former family business clients, all now working with me. Tyler's face went red. You stole our clients? No, I said calmly. They chose me, because I'm the one who actually did the work. Mom's voice shook. After everything we gave you, I laughed. Sharp. Cold. You gave me nothing, I said. Not inheritance, not credit, not even a seat at your celebration dinner. I stood up. I showed up for 8 years. I made this business run, and you treated me like I was invisible. Jess tried to recover. We were going to promote you eventually. I don't need your promotion. I cut her off. I don't need your approval. I needed a family. You needed free labor. Mom just stared at me, silent. Diane Carlson and I are launching Hamilton and Crane events next week, I continued. We already have 8 contracts, all corporate, all exclusive. I picked up my folder and walked toward the door. Then I stopped. Turned back. Grandma's will said I contribute in other ways. She was right. I just stopped contributing to people who didn't value it. I left. No one followed. 3 months later, my life looked completely different. Hamilton and Crane Events was thriving. We had a small office downtown, a killer portfolio, and 12 corporate clients on retainer. I worked with a team that respected me, clients who trusted me, a partner who valued me. For the first time in my life, I wasn't invisible. The family business, on the other hand, was barely limping along. I heard through a mutual contact that Mom had to sell Grandma's house to keep the company afloat. Jess sent me a text one night. Can we talk? I read it. Didn't reply. A week later, Tyler left a voicemail. We messed up, just call me back. I deleted it. Then Mom tried. Just 2 words. I'm sorry. I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to respond, wanted to tell her how much she'd hurt me, wanted her to understand. But I didn't. Not out of revenge. Out of peace. For once, their silence didn't hurt me. It freed me. I'd spent years waiting to be seen, waiting to be valued, waiting for them to notice I was the one holding everything together. Now, I didn't need them to. I had proof of my worth in every contract I signed, in every client who trusted me, in every paycheck I earned on my own terms. I didn't need their approval anymore. And that was the most powerful thing I'd ever felt. If this story hit close to home, I want to hear from you. Have you ever been the invisible one in your family? The one who worked twice as hard for half the credit? Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I read every single one. And if you've ever had to walk away from people who should have loved you better, hit that subscribe button. Your story matters. And you're not invisible here.